As we got closer to the face in the rock, I knew for sure that we were on the right track. It was definitely the same as the face in the painting, but with one difference. The symbol of the tabula was missing from the rock formation. Well, here we are.
But no way to reach the face. Let's have a look around. There must be a way up.
It would make more sense if there was a way around. I mean, there is no obvious entrances here. So it must be behind the rock face.
There had to be a way to get to that rock face. Georges was looking for a route to reach the face on the cliff. Have you spotted a route yet?
No, it looks like a pretty treacherous climb.
I'll keep looking. There must be another way. The chapel looked like it had been built into the cliff face itself. The door was locked with a high security padlock. No way was I going to get through there.
If the chapel has been built into the cliff face, then it makes even more sense that we go around.
The chapel looked like it was open. Georges, the chapel looks like it's been built right into the rock.
You're right. We should take a look inside.
I wonder, how old do you think the chapel is?
I'm guessing the exterior's a couple of 100 years old, but the inside? Who knows? Some parts could be much older.
You think somehow this chapel might be connected to the face in the rock?
At a guess, I would say so. Hey, look! It's Pearl and Dwayne.
Come on, honey bun. Things ain't that bad.
You just don't understand. Today's been a disaster.
But
The monastery was closed. We got stuck in the cable car. And now this place is a building site.
aw, sweetie pie.
This was supposed to be the spiritual highlight of our trip, Dwayne. But the only spirit I see is that rotten turpentine over there.
Aw, heck.
Clearly, the Hendersons weren't having a great vacation.
At least they weren't shot.
A statue of the Madonna and Child watched over the chapel. An empty, coffee-stained mug had been left by the altar. A modern plaster altar had been built against the rock. There was a recess in the wall with a Latin word carved above it. Puritas, purity. I'd seen that word before somewhere.
Me too.
An old candelabra hung from the ceiling. The wall here was made of bare rock. It looked like the chapel had been built right into it. It was a stone carving showing a kneeling figure, praying to the Madonna, probably. It was an old crank handle. Nico, what would I do without her? Hey, Nico. What should we do next?
Why not find out what the Hendersons are up to?
Wood shavings. This was one building site that needed Mr. Tidy. They smelt exotic. My mother always said cleanliness is next to godliness. A battered oil drum had been tucked into the scaffolding. It was rickety scaffolding cluttered with tools and supplies. The scaffolding was a little loose. Everything rattled. It made a surprisingly dulcet noise. It was a half-empty bottle of turpentine. Or, as I prefer to think of it, half full. A paint can was hanging from a piece of wood. It looked just like its neighbor. It produced a dull sound when I rapped my knuckle against it. A paint can hung from the scaffolding. It looked just like its neighbor. It produced a dull sound. A fire extinguisher, with all these lighted candles, seemed like a sensible precaution. It produced a dull sound. It looked like a huge cheese grater. It was a spectacularly unremarkable traffic cone. It was a selection of tools. It was a stonemason's hammer. The view over the valley was spectacular. Lots and lots of candles.
Okay, let's say hello to the Hendersons.
It was Dwayne Henderson. He was trying to comfort Pearl, who was in quite a state. It was Pearl. She wasn't her usual cheery self. Great to see you again, Mr. Henderson.
Great to see you too, George. Great work back there with the cable car.
Is Pearl okay?
I wish. I'm afraid we're having one of those days where everything goes wrong.
Tell me about it. What have you been up to since we last met in Quaramonte?
Well, there was that little sideshow in Rome, but we can't talk about that. You know why, George.
I do? I do.
Why?
Top secret.
Need to know, Nico. Dwayne is, snoozer.
Don't you mean a sleeper?
No way, honey. A snoozer's at least 2 pay grades up from a sleeper. So I hear. Anyway, I don't believe I've had the pleasure, Miss,
Nicole Collar. Call me Nico.
Well, how's about that? So this is the beautiful Nico. No wonder you've been hiding her away from me, Georgie boy.
Gosh, no,
It's lovely to finally meet you too, Mr. Henderson. George has told me so much about you.
Oh, call me Dwayne, my dear. And let me assure you of one thing. Everything you've heard is quite possibly true.
Dwayne was loud, large, and short-sighted, but boy was he a charmer.
Oh yeah, they were in... Well, sorry. The Hendersons and Nico were in Quaramonte at the same time, but I can't remember any of them actually interacting together.
Is there anything we can do for Pearl?
I sure as hell hope so, George. She's been planning and researching this trip for years, our little pilgrimage. And Santa Cova Chapel here was the cherry on the cake. Not a thing she don't know about this place. Madonna, blah, blah, blah. Chapel built in, yada, yada, yada. She's Santa Cova's very own walking encyclopedia. Well, weeping encyclopedia, I should say.
So what brings you to Santa Cova?
Pearl's idea from the get-go. Ever since the unfortunate car accident back home, she's been scouring those pilgrimage brochures. Gotta be full of wonder and life-changing imagery. Got to have penance potential. Got to offer a real spiritual experience.
Well, I'm sure this place will be very spiritual once it's finished.
If the chapel is not what she expected, how about the monastery?
Hot dog, no. That place is for tourists, not pilgrims.
Car accident? Penance? What happened?
You said she expected a spiritual experience?
Yeah, that's what the brochure promised. Pilgrimages, little monk fellas, singing, shafts of light, the whole shebang.
Smells, bells, and heavenly lights.
Yeah, that's what the lady wanted. Oh, excuse me, Pearl needs me. There, dear.
Pearl could be a mine of information about the chapel if we could just cheer her up.
Smells, bells, and heavenly lights. I can provide the smells.
Pearl,
Shh, she doesn't want to be disturbed.
hi, Dwayne.
Hey, George.
How you holding up?
Me? Oh, I'm fine. Pearl, on the other hand.
How's Pearl doing?
She's pretty upset, George.
Well, maybe she just needs a hug.
Is that the best you got? The last time she was in a mood like this, I tried the old hug routine.
Didn't go well?
I still have the scars, not just the mental ones.
What can you tell me about Santa Cova?
Well, Pearl's the expert, not me. She knows everything there is to know about this chapel.
Did you see the Black Madonna?
Oh, you betcha. She's the little lady we came to see, though Pearl's in too much of a state to even look at her.
Hey, that tune you were whistling earlier, it sounded familiar.
Oh, it's Schubert's Ave Maria. In our courting days, me and Pearl used to hang out with the Campanology Society. It was Pearl's favorite.
I thought maybe a squirt of Brett might cheer her up.
Very considerate of you, George, but Pearl prefers a flowery scent.
Do you think these flowers might cheer Pearl up?
That's a lovely thought, George, but she's allergic.
Good thing we had the radio.
In my line of work, I'm always prepared.
For what?
Well, thieves. I gotta protect my lunchbox somehow, George.
I was sure he didn't want to see it.
Oh, okay, I think we are done here for now.
Oh, excuse me, Pearl needs me. There, dear.
I will get back to the Ave Maria at some point, as I do have one issue with this puzzle. I'm just going to wait until he starts whistling again. Or maybe not.
Hey, Nico. So what did you mean by smells, bells, and heavenly lights?
I'm talking about the authentic church experience.
Oh, I see. Smells, bells, and heavenly lights. Any idea how old the chapel is?
That's what I asked you.
So we basically don't know anything.
That's the long and short of it, George.
I found a statue over there. A Black Madonna.
Great! What did you find out about it?
Uh, that's all I got.
Well, it's not a lot to go on.
Poor Pearl.
She's in quite a state. If we're going to find the tabula, her knowledge is key.
So, all our hopes are pinned on an American tourist.
I pin my hopes on an American tourist all the time.
Who?
Got any ideas for smells?
Have you found any incense? Church smells don't get much more authentic than incense.
We don't really have any incense, but I guess that we could make some. So let's start with the smells. We have these exotic wood shavings.
I put the shavings in the mug.
But they're not quite what we need. So we need to add another scent to them.
I covered the shavings with Brett. Potpourri. Kind of. The mug contained potpourri, made by yours truly.
And now we need to release the scent.
I lit the scented shavings. A sweet aroma started to fill the room.
Now it's time for the heavenly light. Why are we still carrying this side mirror? I mean, I know why, but it makes no logical sense that he would take it halfway across Europe. Actually, no, just across Catalonia.
I lit the candles on the candelabra. I rested the side mirror precariously on the candelabra.
I mean, this is why we still have it, but logically speaking, we should have got rid of it ages ago.
It was a beautiful antique fire hazard.
Oh. Let's try that again.
I rested the side mirror precariously on the candelabra. I secured the mirror in place with some yarn. That should do the trick. Now that was something. The light from the candelabra spilled over the Black Madonna like waves of spiritual goodness in candle form.
There are some really powerful candles in this game. Now it's time for the bells. Come on, Dwayne. Just for me. Oh, there we go. Right, we can't actually examine this, but it gives you an arrangement of notes to play Ave Maria. But the problem is, for someone who, I mean, I listen to music, as most people do, but I don't really know anything about the musical notes. Now, if we use this hammer on these various pieces along the scaffolding, we get various different notes.
The hammer produced a promising sound. G.
Right, okay. So which of these notes is G?
A.
What are you up to?
Look, I made a Churchenspiel. That sounded like an A.
Wait, I thought this was an A.
A.
Okay, so they're both A's.
B, if I wasn't mistaken. That didn't sound right. Wrong.
Right, so we have two A's here. We need to change one of them to an F sharp, I believe.
Well, that was fun.
And we do that by using this turpentine.
I poured the turpentine into the paint can.
Now, I don't mind musical puzzles, but as I said, for someone like me who I really have no idea what note is which, but thankfully I do have a guide which can help me along. So apparently we need to do G, F sharp, G, B, A, G.
The hammer produced a promising sound.
Right?
G,
Okay.
an F sharp. No, that wasn't quite right. B.
Oh yes, okay, sorry.
G. F sharp. G. B. A. G. I had it. It was the tune Dwayne was humming.
George, that's Ave Maria. Let me have a go.
Wow. You really nailed that, Nico.
Yep, this mop really is pretty special. Leave this to me.
Pumpkin? Oh my!
What?
The sound of angels, the lights of heaven, the smell of piety, and
Yes?
the Madonna, I do believe. Tears. She's crying, Dwayne! The Madonna's crying. Father, son, little Timmy. Wrong side of the road. Not my fault. The broken leg. Compensation claim. Forgive me, poor Timmy.
Oh, Pearl, my precious, you're such a sensitive soul.
Well, now that's done. I feel my soul's floating on air. We can get on with our pilgrimage, Dwayne.
Just another 1,000 clicks to go.
Pearl was back to her usual cheery self.
What about Timmy?
Pearl was back to her usual cheery self. Mrs. Henderson,
George, dear boy.
how you feeling?
Oh, just fine, thank you. I have just seen a miracle, George. It's all gonna be all right from now.
I'm sure it is, Mrs. Henderson. I'm sure it is. So, Pearl, what have you been up to since we last met?
Well, George, I've been on a journey.
Oh, really? Well, what kind of journey?
A spiritual one. A journey along the road to enlightenment.
Wow. And is that what brought you here?
It is. Though Santa Cova is but one step on that road.
What's so special about Santa Cova?
It's an ancient and very holy place. I've spent the last year researching it, and I can truly say there is nothing I do not know about it.
I don't suppose you'd know anything about that rock out there?
No, only that for 1,000 years, people have claimed to see a face in its shapes.
Still, keeping busy, Dwayne?
Like the man said, George, that old kaleidoscope keeps getting shaken, and the pieces are ever in flux.
Guess it's your job to pick 'em up, huh?
Well, somebody has to do it, compadre.
I enjoyed talking to Dwayne, but I was rarely any the wiser afterwards. What can you tell me about the statue?
I read that the Black Madonna has been here since the 9th century. She's called the Virgin of Montserrat. Some say the original was moved to the cathedral. But Dwayne and I know that's just a bluff, don't we, honey?
We sure do. This one is the real McCoy.
What can you tell me about Santa Cova?
Well, dear, they call it the Chapel of the Holy Grotto. It was built directly into the mountain itself in 1696. It survived the Napoleonic Wars, mudslides, Civil War. But the chapel is still standing today. It's a miracle.
Or a restoration.
What was that, dear?
Yes, a miracle. Hey, Pearl, take a sniff of this.
Takes me back to Dwayne in his frat house days.
What do you think of these flowers, Dwayne?
Oh, you keep 'em, George. They're God's gift to the undercover operative. Back in Iraq 1, a bunch of flowers kept me alive for a week.
How exactly?
So, this ball of yarn, what do you think?
I think you're a lucky man to have it, George. Keep it.
Take a look at these papers.
That document has the Vatican seal on it. Ooh, you better keep it safe, honey. I bet there's some people who would love to get their hands on it.
Oh, you have no idea. What do you make of this?
It looks like an Ouroboros.
Oh, you recognize it? Let me show you something else. Can you tell me anything about this painting?
Oh, nothing, dear. Apart from the obvious Gnostic connotations, of course.
What?
You know, the Dominicans. All those Gnostic saints. Doubting Thomas, Judas. And you see the woman in the red cloak? The infamous Mary Magdalene herself.
A lady in red.
That's enough now, Dwayne. You know my feelings about her.
Pearl knew her Gnostic onions, all right.
Then there's the Ouroboros, of course.
Something special about it?
Well, if I remember rightly, there was an Ouroboros right here in this chapel. Back in the 30s and 40s, the chapel was renovated. The workmen uncovered numerous symbols carved in the rock. Amongst them was a fine Ouroboros.
But that's amazing. So, where is it?
Oh, it's not there now.
Oh.
It was considered blasphemous, so they plastered over it. Sweetheart, I think it's time for us to go. The road to enlightenment waits for no woman.
'Tis the pilgrim's lot, George.
It was so nice to see you again. And meet your girlfriend.
We're not.
Take this radio, Nico. Never know when you might need it. Keep an eye on our boy George here.
Poor little lost lamb.
I'm not...
Don't worry, this little lamb's in safe hands. Bon voyage.
Bye-bye, dears.
See ya.
Nico, don't even start.
Little lamb?
Let's focus on the task in hand, shall we? Okay. This Ouroboros that Pearl mentioned.
You're right. We need to find it.
We will. But first, let's take one of these candles. And... wait, why is one purple? Oh, there's a few purple ones here. Anyway, you may notice that they are currently all lit. Pearl also mentioned that there were many symbols found, but I can't see any. But we do know the Ouroboros was plastered over.
I hoped this was the right thing to do. Hey, Nico, I found the Ouroboros.
So what now?
Pearl was right. The plaster had covered an Ouroboros.
Even if it wasn't the right thing to do, who would have stopped us? And who witnessed it? It could have just been some good old-fashioned vandalism.
I couldn't see anything unusual about it. I pushed the Ouroboros, but nothing happened.
No, right. So this puzzle here, this is a proper adventure game logic puzzle. For some reason the candle is not lit. Well, that's Trevor. We can't set him on fire.
What was that noise?
For some reason, lighting a candle on fire now activates the Ouroboros.
I knew it. Another secret passageway.
Amazing, Charles. How did you do it?
Just another case of the old Stobart magic, I guess, Nico. It looks a little dark in there.
Are you scared, Charles?
Course not. Just worried about you tripping, that's all.